So please help me to introduce my best friend
and my sister,
your Mississippi FFA Vice President,
Anna Burns.
When I was younger, I was the most bossy, sassy, hard-headed, independent little girl you would ever meet. I learned how to walk before I was even a year old, and by the time I was 2, I could already snap, whistle, and tie my shoes. You see, I have an older brother that instilled in me an extremely competitive nature practically from birth. Anything I saw him doing, I thought I could do too. Sometimes this proved to be a challenge, though, considering the fact that he is 2 years older than me. For example, when my mom picked me up after my first day of kindergarten, I was fighting mad because they didn't teach me how to read. You see, my older brother could already read, and so I saw that as a challenge, and I was not willing to let any challenge, especially one my brother had already accomplished, beat me. From birth to kindergarten, it was evident that I was not willing to back down. I was more than confident in the abilities that my God had given me. Fast forward to junior high. These were the days when I began to question this strong sense of confidence that I had found at such a young age. When I looked around me, all I saw was people that were better than me, better looking than me, made better grades than me, better at playing musical instruments or sports. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't measure up. I simply wasn't good enough. When I joined the FFA in the 6th grade, I was still scared and insecure because I had no idea what the FFA was about and I couldn't seem to succeed in other areas of my life. I joined the junior opening and closing team, and this was when I realized I was never supposed to worry about being the best by myself. I was made perfect and in the image of God, but I was made to rely on others. Through the laughter, adventure, and time that I spent with my teammates, I realized I was good enough for the FFA. I loved everything the FFA stood for: service, leadership, strengthening agriculture. The FFA quickly became my home, and the members, my family. After I attended my first state convention, I immediately knew that one day I wanted to be a state officer. After serving as a junior state officer in the 9th grade, anyone that met me could tell that my heart and soul was with the FFA. So it's no surprise that when the time came, I ran for state office. I was so excited. This goal that I had set 6 years earlier at my first convention was finally within reach. I made it through all of the cuts with the nominating committee until I was in the final group from which the next year's state officers would be chosen. I had shared my heart and my soul, my dreams and my goals with the nominating committee. And I had no doubt that when that chairman went up on stage to announce the state officers, my name would be called. But it wasn't. I could hardly breathe. My heart was broken. In that moment, I saw all of my dreams fall away. Every memory that I had in this blue jacket was now overshadowed by this darkness of failure and rejection. I had disappointed myself, my family, my friends, my advisor, and the state FFA. I remember telling my advisor after that session, I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to do anything on the state level again because I simply no longer felt good enough to wear this blue jacket. I soon went into a depression. I didn't want to leave my room. I didn't want to see my family. I didn't want my friends to visit me. I just wanted to be left alone. No one could reach me where I was. But then, one friend found me. Chris spent every day this summer calling me to check up on me, texting me to make me smile, and taking me on adventures to cheer me up. He showed me that just because one door had closed didn't mean life was over. He showed me that I had not disappointed anyone, that they were still proud in me. He showed me that God was saying, "Not now, trust my timing." He was a light in one of my darkest moments, and for that, I can never thank him enough. A few months later, I had just got home from competing at National Convention. I remember rolling out of bed, still suffering from lack of sleep, and I headed off to church. This particular Sunday morning, my teacher asked us, who was our favorite Bible school hero? I thought about it for a little bit because there are a lot of heroes in the Bible. But finally, I settled on one, Job. For those of you that aren't familiar with Job's story, he was tempted by the devil and he lost everything. His land, his livelihood, his children, and then his best friends even turned their backs on him. Yet somehow through all of this tragedy, he never once cursed God and he never lost sight of the end goal. I finally realized how silly I had been these past few months. I had let one bad experience where God was saying, "Not now, trust my timing," get in the way of my happiness and cause me to push my friends and family away. I had let one bad experience keep me from being myself. I decided I was not going to let the fear of rejection and failure rule my life anymore. I was going to use this experience of not getting state office as a stepping stone instead of a roadblock. I was going to rerun for state office. At first, I was absolutely terrified. Everyone had already known that I had failed once. And if I wasn't good enough the first time, why would I be good enough a second time? But then I remembered this Bible verse, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I realized that I had the ability and that if it was according to God's will, it would be done. Now, looking back, I could not have been more thankful that I didn't get state office that first year, because nothing can compare to the memories that I have made with my team as we've served you this year. There are many ways to go about saying this, but I'm going to say it the way that I know best. 1 Corinthians 12:9-10 says, "But my God said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly in weaknesses, in persecutions, in difficulties, and in hardships. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Sometimes God allows us to break down to our weakest moments, not because He doesn't care for us, but because when we're weak, we acknowledge the fact that we can't do it on our own. When we're weak, we acknowledge the fact that we have to rely on God. It's then that He steps into our lives and takes over and allows us to accomplish His will for our lives. The FFA was never supposed to be a place of success, but rather a place of second chances. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Trust in God and trust in His timing and His plan, for it is perfect. Although it may not seem like it all the times, you don't know the future, and He does. Mississippi FFA, don't let anyone define your worth. Don't let successes or failures keep you from being who you are. You are and always will be enough.
You know the situation can't be right, and all you ever do is fight. But there's a reason that the road is long. It takes some time to make your courage strong. Hold on tight a little longer. What don't kill you makes you stronger. Get back up, 'cause it's a whole lot.
Anna, thank you for being the best vice president that I could have ever served with, that any of us could have ever served with. You have never been afraid to tell me like it is, and that's for sure. You have been there to support us at countless times, and you have such a beautiful soul and beautiful heart. You are truly a servant leader. You'll go far places. Mississippi FFA, your 2017-2018 State Vice President, Anna Burns.